Chapter 347. Comparing Life to Poison. Bang. Xiao Ruxia's legs gave out, and she fell to the ground. Madame Xiao wore a shocked expression, her legs trembling. Chu Jinling took Lin Sisi away, causing a collective gasp from everyone in the grand hall. Su Yingxue, watching Lin Sisi's departure, felt overwhelmed with guilt. Tsk, he is indeed a prince. When he loses his temper, he certainly makes a statement. Saint Ruan crossed his arms and laughed. Su Yingxue glared at him in anger. You think that's making a statement? He was protecting the one he loved. If not for you, Sisi wouldn't have faced such humiliation today. Saint Ruan stuck out his tongue. I just casually slipped her some poison. The poison you casually gave her is enough to ruin her entire life. Saint Ruan, you'll pay the price for this. Su Yingxue raised her head and clenched her fists tightly. Saint Ruan raised an eyebrow, suddenly hesitating to engage in a poison competition with Su Yingxue. She was genuinely interesting, but poisoning her to death would be such a waste. Miss Su, are you ready for your match with Mr. Ruan? The Empress, with a perpetual smile and regal composure, spoke softly at the front of the hall. Su Yingxue smiled back. Your Majesty, I am prepared. Saint Ruan stood at the side with his arms crossed. I'm ready too, but one suddenly don't feel like competing anymore. It's too much of a waste to poison this girl to death. Supporting his head, Saint Ruan, with a lazy charm in his eyes, said, Stupid girl, beg for mercy. Kneel and call me master, and 111 take you out of the palace to live freely. Saint Ruan, you're not worthy. Su Yingxue's smile carried a sharp edge, her words hitting Saint Ruan like a slap. Saint Ruan erupted in anger. Su Yingxue, don't come crying and begging to me later. Watch. Su Yingxue's expression remained stoic. Chu Mingyuan didn't say anything today. He didn't want to hold this competition. After all, Su Yingxue was Long Shuli's daughter. Long Shuli was a woman who had captivated many hearts. However, Su Yingxue's love for Chu Yihan meant he couldn't let her live. Su Yingxue, Saint Ruan, he finally called out. Both stood before him, listening as he addressed them. Since you both wish to compete, I will ensure fairness to prevent any injustices. However, this poison competition is akin to a battlefield, with life and death at stake. Are you both willing to sign a life and death contract, not blaming each other regardless of the outcome? Su Yingxue noticed a glint of intent to kill her in Chu Mingyuan's eyes. Saint Ruan smirked. Why not? I'm not afraid of this little girl. Saint Ruan signed the life and death contract sent by Chu Mingyuan. Glancing at Su Yingxue beside him, he mocked. It's not too late to beg for mercy now. After all, you're just a little girl. Spare yourself. Su Yingxue acted as if she hadn't heard him and signed her name on the contract. Turning to Saint Ruan, she declared, This is our only match, with lives at stake. You use your poison, 111 use mine. Fate decides life and death. My life's always been in my hands. Saint Ruan leaned close to Su Yingxue, blowing a provocative breath into her ear. Aren't you counting on Chu Yihan's influence? Why was he nowhere to be seen today? Got dumped. Su Yingxue had her doubts, but she never questioned Chu Yihan. She leaned closer to Saint Ruan and whispered something into his ear. Chapter 348. Saint Ruan was poisoned. Noble consort Xiao's delicate face bore a look of doubt as she conversed with Granny Song beside her. What do you think? Su Yingxue said. How could she make poison? Dr. Saint Ruan's face turned so sour. Before entering the palace, she had seen Saint Ruan in the Xiao family, a person who was arrogant and dismissive of worldly matters. Granny Song replied solemnly, I can only sense that Miss Su might be in danger today. Noble consort Xiao agreed with her words. After all, when Saint Ruan intended to poison someone, the king of the underworld seemed to favor him. Su Yingxue and Saint Ruan exchanged poisons. Their competition was very simple and crude. They poisoned each other, and whoever could concoct the antidote within 2 hours would be considered the winner. When Saint Ruan received Su Yingxue's poison, he almost instinctively ingested it. He had never believed Su Yingxue could poison him. Yet, the poison carried a sweet scent that echoed Su Yingxue's words in his mind. Saint Ruan, do you have any regrets in your life? He did. Su Yingxue's potion was his sole regret in decades. Intoxicating fragrance. Saint Ruan's eyes reddened. Blood surged from his chest, and he abruptly expelled a mouthful of blood. Spurt. Su Yingxue watched him, a smile hinting at deeper meaning on her lips. Indeed, she had taken Saint Ruan's poison, and her condition was dire. In less than 15 minutes, she began to feel dizzy and almost fell. Her vision slowly darkened. Fortunately, her acupuncture skills were outstanding, and she quickly sealed her acupoints to prevent the poison from flowing. In her mind, little Ginseng was in a panic. This poison is potent. So potent. Little Ginseng was on the verge of vomiting. Su Yingxue entered the Medicine King Valley, and it only relaxed when she saw her gulping down a lot of spirit spring water. Su Yingxue had her mother's medical records in her mind. There were thousands of poisons in the world that had a cure. It was just a matter of whether she could find it. Saint Ruan liked to fight poison with poison. Over the years, he had been doing this for the majority of the time. Before the poison fully invaded her body, Su Yingxue took the antidote. After sitting for half an hour and sensing the poison's halt, she used a small knife to incise her hand, releasing the poison blood, effectively neutralizing the poison. However, just as she regained her senses, someone on the other side screamed, "Oh my God, the poison doctor is dead. The poison doctor is dead." Saint Ruan collapsed before everyone's eyes. Men, summon the imperial physician. Chu Mingyuan quickly commanded. Saint Ruan, a genius in poisons, would be a loss if he perished. He hurriedly ordered the imperial physician to attend to him. However, when his gaze met Su Yingxue's, a hint of intent to kill inadvertently slipped into his eyes. She had defeated Saint Ruan. What terrifying strength she possessed. Facing Chu Mingyuan's gaze, Su Yingxue felt something amiss. As Saint Ruan was carried away, a gale swept through the palace gates. Chu Yihan appeared, his body exuding killing intent, his blade still stained with blood. He rushed to Su Yingxue and pulled her into his embrace, his voice urgent. "I'm late." An almost imperceptible smile crossed Su Yingxue's cold face. "Not late. Your Highness, I've won." She seemed like a child yearning for praise. Though her complexion hadn't fully recovered, Chu Yihan sighed in relief upon seeing her. However, his gaze towards Chu Mingyuan was sharp and bloodthirsty. "Are you deliberately obstructing me?" His tone was commanding. Speaking to Chu Mingyuan publicly, everyone in the hall knelt in fear. Su Yingxue rushed forward and grasped his hand. "Your Highness, don't be angry." Chapter 349. She wanted Chu Yihan to calm down. She didn't know why Chu Yihan hadn't appeared earlier, but upon seeing blood on his sword, she surmised that he had been stopped by Chu Mingyuan. Chu Mingyuan tightened his hands on his knees and spoke in a cold, forceful tone. "What's wrong? Ninth brother, are you trying to assassinate me in the palace for a woman?" "Emperor, your Highness doesn't mean that." Su Yingxue hurriedly helped clarify. "So what?" Chu Yihan's cold and bloodthirsty voice carried a murderous aura that could destroy the world. Su Yingxue looked at his reddened eyes, seemingly unable to control his temper. Leaning against him, she quickly advised, "Your Highness, don't engage in conflict with the Emperor." Chu Yihan entering the palace with his sword was already disrespectful in front of everyone. Any further offense would surely give the Emperor a reason to deal with him. "You truly are a good ninth brother of mine." Chu Mingyuan suddenly stood up. His eyes clashed with Chu Yihan's, and the entire hall brimmed with hostility. The Empress grew nervous. "Men, apprehend the ninth prince. He wants to commit regicide." Chu Yihan's temper flared even more. His sword pointed towards the Empress, ready to strike her down with a single forceful move. The Empress fell back in fear onto her chair. Chu Chengye rushed to protect her. "Imperial uncle, how dare you?" "What wouldn't I dare?" Chu Yihan couldn't control the surging blood in his body. Just as he was about to rush over, Su Yingxue hugged his waist and tiptoed to kiss his earlobe. She comforted him gently. "Your Highness, don't." Her words were a calming spring that extinguished the flames in Chu Yihan's heart. The blood in his eyes receded, and his mind cleared significantly. He lowered his head to nuzzle Su Yingxue's face. "Thank goodness for you." "Your Highness, what's wrong?" Su Yingxue placed her hand on his chest. feeling his heart pounding rapidly as if blood was about to burst from his chest. As Chu Yihan calmed down, Chu Mingyuan's heart was ablaze with anger. Almost. He was almost able to provoke Chu Yihan to attack him. Just a move to kill the emperor would allow him to rightfully accuse Chu Yihan of treason and engage him in a deadly battle. But now it was all ruined by Yingxue. Yingxue. He gritted his teeth. She not only defeated Saint Ruan but also pacified Chu Yihan, who had killed countless people. Chu Yihan rubbed Yingxue's head. Despite his strong heartbeat, he had regained control of his emotions. He sheathed his Qingfeng sword. I had no intention of regicide. But should anyone in the Imperial Guards disrespect me, I will teach them a lesson to maintain the dignity of the Imperial family. Imperial brother, please understand. Chu Mingyuan clenched his fists. Of course, one won't take offense. He had set up heavy ambushes by the Imperial Guards precisely to provoke Chu Yihan's uncontrollable murderous intent, to have him bathe the Imperial Palace in blood. Now that Chu Yihan was back under control, those Imperial Guards had died in vain. Emperor, Your Highness was also concerned about the competition between Saint Ruan and me. Your Highness' presence shows your respect for the event. Yingxue smiled, swiftly turning the tide for Chu Yihan. Chu Mingyuan had no choice but to suppress his anger. I still must reward you. His words, spoken through gritted teeth by an emperor hinting at danger, carried a tone of veiled threat. Though Yingxue sensed the menace, she had no choice but to put on a brave face and thrust herself into the spotlight. This time it's me who has won. I hereby announce that Yingxue defeated Saint Ruan. Chapter 350. Why didn't you say that it was inappropriate for you to raise me in public? Chu Mingyuan suppressed the anger in his heart and left after saying this. If he hadn't left, he might have ended up killing Yingxue on the spot. The Empress' face turned ashen. Chu Mingyuan had departed, leaving her to clean up the mess. Not only did she give all the rewards meant for Saint Ruan to Yingxue, but she also had to grit her teeth and watch everyone flatter her. Noble consort Xiao sat at the top, her eyes slightly raised. She was so stunningly beautiful that it was beyond comparison. This Yingxue is truly intriguing. Granny Song, reward her. Yes, Your Majesty. When Yingxue left the palace, she pulled a cart full of rewards behind her. But at this moment, all she wanted was to return to the prince's mansion with Chu Yihan. In Chu Yihan's courtyard, she accompanied him until it was dark. Chu Yihan lay on the bed, his once handsome face devoid of color. Yingxue meticulously removed one silver needle after another. Her eyes reddened at the corners. Lowering her head, she gently kissed Chu Yihan's face. This was her way to keep herself from bursting into tears. When Chu Yihan woke up, Yingxue asked, "How long have you been like this?" Chu Yihan's expression remained calm. For 10 years. 10 years. Yingxue counted on her fingers. Over the past decade, Chu Yihan had mostly been engaged in battles outside, expanding the territory of the great Shang Dynasty, and earning the title of the God of War across the 9 continents. However, she couldn't dare to fathom the dangers Chu Yihan faced in every battle. Once a bloody battle ensued, his emotions would spiral out of control, turning him into an unstoppable killing machine. If there were moments of lucidity, he would slowly regain control. But if there were none, she couldn't even imagine what Chu Yihan would become. Exhausted on the battlefield, bursting out in a blood frenzy, and then dying? Yingxue's hands trembled. She couldn't fathom that this was an ailment left from Chu Yihan's many years of warfare. It was also his weakness. Today, the emperor had used this weakness of his to trap her in the palace and compete with Saint Ruan. She was on the verge of life and death, and Chu Yihan would undoubtedly be agitated. Hence, he arranged defenses outside the palace, unleashing him into a massacre. Then, he would have penetrated the palace, assassinated the emperor, and started a rebellion. They would have charged him with the crime of a traitor and killed him. So ruthless. Don't be afraid. From now on, with you around, one won't lose control of my blood essence. Chu Yihan's lips curved slightly. Under the dim light, his deep, boundless eyes glittered with faint starlight. It was beautiful. Yingxue nestled into his arms. One genuinely wish one could be this helpful. You can. If you doubt it, you can try again. Chu Yihan lay on the bed, his once celestial face now radiant with a seductive aura, as if inviting her. Yingxue blushed and coughed twice. This is not proper. Your Highness, be serious. Did you consider what was proper when you publicly showed affection towards me today? Chu Yihan reclined slightly, his eyes lazily narrowed, exuding a lethal allure. Yingxue's heart began to wildly fluctuate. Stop tempting her. She couldn't resist the temptation. Right now it's only you and me, appropriate enough. Chu Yihan's low, sexy voice lingered in her ear. Yingxue turned and gently kissed his face. To hell with control. Yingxue didn't understand why, but as she kept kissing him, she ended up lying on his bed. Despite the blanket between them, she still felt his intense warmth. Your Highness, will you blame me for poisoning Saint Ruan? Yingxue peeked her head out from under the blanket, her exquisite eyes shimmering with a moist luster. Chapter 351. Plan for Chu Jinling. He is courting death by provoking you. Why should I blame you? Chu Yihan pinched her face and spoke casually. But you once let him cure the deadly plague, and he's a member of the Silver Moon Pavilion. Your relationship? Not good. Compared to you, I didn't have a good relationship with anyone. Yingxue clicked her tongue. He was heartless to others. But he doted on her. Yingxue snickered and became serious. To be honest, is your Highness on good terms with him? What is your relationship with Silver Moon Pavilion? Yingxue had been holding back this question for a long time. She thought that since they were already lying on the same bed, she should not hold on to her doubts and feel uncomfortable. Chu Yihan's hand that was pinching her face gently pressed against her face. The warmth in his palm flowed gently like the pouring moonlight. I and the Silver Moon Pavilion have occasionally cooperated. The peace talks between the Great Cheng Dynasty and the Silver Moon Pavilion were initiated by me. The current Silver Moon Pavilion is only the tip of the iceberg. You have yet to understand its true strength. Chu Yihan's eyes were distant. Yingxue was even more puzzled. The tip of the iceberg? Isn't Hong Lian the pavilion master? The standard of an organization's leader was a good indicator of the standard of the entire organization. At the very least, Hong Lian wasn't invincible in Yingxue's eyes. She's just a manager. The Silver Moon Pavilion has two true pavilion masters, the East Pavilion Master and the West Pavilion Master. The East Pavilion Master is in charge of the Four Kingdoms, and the West Pavilion Master. It's been a long time since we've heard from him. Separated into two Pavilion Masters? Could it be that the West Pavilion Master was killed by the East Pavilion Master because of the competition? Yingxue made a bold guess. Chu Yihan smiled. The East Pavilion Master doesn't have that ability. The West Pavilion Master just doesn't want to deal with him. However, everyone always respects the East Pavilion Master. The West Pavilion Master has not appeared for many years. The East Pavilion Master is the West Pavilion Master's foster son. Yingxue was speechless. How could the Silver Moon Pavilion be so complicated? However, hearing Chu Yihan's tone, Your Highness seems to be very familiar with the Silver Moon Pavilion. Moreover, Silver Moon Pavilion has never dared to make an enemy of Your Highness. Yingxue was very sure that even though Hong Lian was only a manager, she was very respectful to Chu Yihan. Other than the fact that she liked Chu Yihan, she was more afraid of him. I have some relationship with the East Pavilion Master. However, it's best not to bring up such things since it's such a beautiful occasion. In short, with me around, the Silver Moon Pavilion won't dare to hurt you at all. However, if you provoke the Silver Moon Pavilion... Chu Yihan pinched her nose. Oh, if I provoke the Silver Moon Pavilion, what will Your Highness do? Yingxue was forced to raise her head and breathe through her mouth. Her nasal voice was rather cute. Naturally, I'll let you provoke it. Chu Yihan leaned forward and kissed Yingxue. In the Imperial Palace, the Empress was busy cleaning up the mess, while noble consort Xiao returned to her palace contentedly to pick out the rare treasures that the Xiao family had sent into the palace. In her palace, Xiao Ruxia and Madame Xiao had not left yet, and they had come crying to her. When noble consort Xiao saw the corpse they carried in, she frowned. Throw it out. I can't bear to see this. Xiao Ruxia originally wanted to use the maid's corpse to gain noble consort Xiao's sympathy. But now, she immediately waved her hand and ordered people to carry the corpse away. She knelt in front of noble consort Xiao, covering half of her face and sobbing pitifully. "Aunt, one, know it was my fault. This maid deserves to die. It's all her fault for ruining Jinling's mood. One will expose her corpse in the wilderness when we get back." Chapter 352. Saint Ruan saved himself. Noble consort Xiao sneered. "All right, since you're from the Xiao family, you should be smarter. Get up." She gestured for Madame Xiao and her daughter to take a seat. Madame Xiao thought noble consort Xiao would support them if they stayed. She began to complain about the incidents in the hall, speaking ill of Lin Sisi, hoping to tarnish her reputation in front of noble consort Xiao. Noble consort Xiao listened casually, neither rebuking nor refuting. When Xiao Ruxia and Madame Xiao finished speaking, noble consort Xiao appeared as composed as ever, holding a pearl hairpin in her hand. She toyed with the hairpin. "Are you done?" Madame Xiao, holding Xiao Ruxia's hand, spoke respectfully. "Your Majesty, I know I tend to be long-winded, but am doing this for the 9th prince's sake. Please don't misunderstand. Linger is my favorite. One, treat him the best. Madame Xiao, one heard you speak today out of consideration for your daughter's grievances. But don't forget, you brought this upon yourselves." Noble consort Xiao's languid tone carried a touch of coldness. Madame Xiao and her daughter immediately knelt. "Your Majesty, spare us. One, truly. Enough." Impatience flashed in noble consort Xiao's exquisite eyes. "Let me tell you, even if Linger killed a maid or both of you, one wouldn't blame him. Whoever provokes him, 111 kill them. If you want your daughter to be Linger's imperial consort, then prove yourself. Even if Lin Sisi is an eyesore, one won't object if Linger is devoted to her. But you better not make my Linger angry again. Otherwise, I'll personally beat you to death." Noble consort Xiao impatiently tossed the pearl hairpin onto a plate. Madame Xiao and her daughter trembled in fear, quickly retreating. Granny Song approached noble consort Xiao, massaging her shoulders. "Your Majesty, if you consider the Xiao family's future, having a daughter of the Xiao family by the 9th prince's side would be wise. Miss Lin is only a descendant of a general. Once General Lin dies, the Lin family won't have much left." Noble consort Xiao rubbed her temples. "How could I not know? But whenever one see Linger angry, I want to beat those who angered him to death. Linger is my treasure. I can't bear to see him upset." Granny Song sighed softly. "Although your Majesty is reluctant, you can't watch over the 9th prince forever. Your Highness is pure-hearted and uninterested in the throne, so he won't have to worry about the future. But he still needs worldly experience, or who will protect your Majesty and the Xiao family." Noble consort Xiao's heart sank. Granny Song's words echoed her thoughts. She had pampered Chu Jinling for years, but he would have to take responsibility for the Xiao family someday. Glancing at the treasures from the Xiao family, she instructed, "Men, give all of these to Xiao Ruxia. Tell her to develop her skills." Granny Song smiled in relief. At the Marquis Manor, while Su Yingxue handled household matters, Ziwei returned. Su Yingxue glanced up from the account book at the young man. "As cold as a statue. How did it go? Is Saint Ruan dead?" Ziwei shook his head. "He saved himself." Su Yingxue nodded. "That old man is indeed reluctant to die." She had used intoxicating fragrance, a poison that Saint Ruan had abandoned midway in his research. Thus, he couldn't concoct an antidote on the spot. But it didn't mean he couldn't save himself with his medical skills. And so he lived on. Chapter 353. Su Dingheng wanted to invite Lu Shulan and her daughter back. Su Yingxue pulled out the letter left by her mother. Her mother had written about Saint Ruan, particularly detailing the records about the intoxicating fragrance, which essentially was Saint Ruan's romantic life. Saint Ruan had exceptional talent as a young physician. He had a childhood sweetheart as his fiancée, whom he loved deeply. However, Saint Ruan was too wild and unbridled. Upon the prodigal's return, seeking to marry her, Saint Ruan discovered that his fiancée had married someone else. This rejection devastated Saint Ruan. In a fit of rage, he poisoned his fiancée's in-laws to death. He even slowly poisoned his fiancée, desiring to make her suffer lifelong. In the 10 years after he was betrayed, Saint Ruan developed poisons that were all targeted at women. The beauty-stealing poison was one of his proudest creations at the time. For every ounce of pain inflicted on women, he brewed poisons. However, her mother's letter disclosed that Saint Ruan watched his elderly fiancée die before his eyes. Tortured by Saint Ruan's poison for decades, she never asked him to detoxify her before she died. From then on, Saint Ruan became even more unrestrained. He altered his appearance to retain perpetual youth, roamed around, and at 70, still flirted everywhere. Tisk, incredibly lascivious. After reading the letter's final page, Su Yingxue inwardly cursed. Saint Ruan, this scoundrel. Betrayed once, he's betrayed so many women. Su Yingxue couldn't fathom that the handsome Saint Ruan turned out to be a 70-year-old man. From her mother's letter, she sensed both sympathy and a sense of deserved retribution toward Saint Ruan. So following her mother's wishes, she applied the intoxicating fragrance to Saint Ruan. Looking at the letter, her mother's unrestrained words said, "Make Saint Ruan taste his poison. Even if he doesn't die, pierce his heart." Haha, Madam is truly amusing. Shulan served tea to Su Yingxue and also spotted that line, unable to contain her laughter. Su Yingxue folded the letter, sipped her tea, and contemplated. Mother isn't just amusing, one always feels she doesn't belong here. I've never seen anyone more intriguing than her in the great Qing dynasty. Not in this life or the previous one. Miss, Master wants to see you in the main hall. Shulan informed her after she finished her tea. Su Yingxue tucked the cards away and went to Su Dingheng. Lately, Su Dingheng had been very indifferent to her. He was rarely in the Marquis manor and rarely spoke to her. Even when he asked about the matters in the manor, he was very perfunctory, as if he treated her as an outsider. Of course, Su Yingxue knew that her father had never treated her as his daughter. "What's the matter, father?" she asked as usual. Su Dingheng didn't beat around the bush. "My birthday is approaching. Since you handle household affairs, organize a celebration for me." "Birthday celebration?" Su Yingxue mused. Su Dingheng was over 40 and not yet 50. Was he expecting a celebration for each scattered birthday? "What's the matter? Now that you're so prestigious and have made connections, you're unwilling to arrange a celebration for me? If you're not willing, relinquish control of the estate, and one won't bother you." Su Dingheng's impatience was evident, his eyes indifferent. The corner of Su Yingxue's lips curved mockingly. "Of course I'll organize father's celebration. However, I've handed over the estate's authority. Now that sister Jinling has yet to marry into our family, does father have a suitable replacement for me?" Chapter 354. Su Yingxue. In terms of hurting someone's feelings, Su Yingxue felt that no one could match her, especially when it came to hurting her father's feelings. Su Dingheng's hand trembled as he held the teacup, showing slight discomfort. "If you're going to do it well. Father's doing it well. What requests do you have?" Su Yingxue sat down calmly, having a chat with Su Dingheng. Surely, he wouldn't just request a birthday banquet without any underlying intentions for his enjoyment. "Yingxue." Su Dingheng's voice carried a tone of helplessness. "Now that your grandfather is away on an expedition and your brother has gone to the borders, in this huge Marquis manor, only you and I are left. It's so deserted." "So father, you mean to ask me to bring Lady Lu and Su Yuro back to celebrate your birthday?" Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow, her eyes emitting a chill. Su Dingheng earnestly responded, "Isn't that the right thing? At my age, I simply want to enjoy family happiness." Su Yingxue's tone turned cold. "Of course it is. Since father has said it, I'll do it." After finishing, she stood up and left. The aura of coldness around her even made Su Dingheng feel a bit afraid. He sat in the hall for a while, only to confirm that Su Yingxue had agreed to the matter. It was unusually smooth. Su Yingxue agreed to arrange a birthday banquet, but she didn't agree to invite back Lu Shulan and her daughter. Shulan saw Su Yingxue preparing for the birthday banquet, and was furious. "The Marquis is making things too difficult for you." Despite knowing Lu Shulan and her daughter's ill intentions, Su Yingxue was expected to invite them back. Wasn't this a humiliation to Su Yingxue? Do you think I'd invite them back? Su Yingxue glanced at the guest list, her lips curling with coldness. But didn't Miss promise the master to let them return? Xilan's eyes were filled with doubt. I won't refuse if they come back on their own, but they're not worthy of being invited by me. Su Yingxue's tone was filled with arrogance. Pass this guest list to the steward for preparations. Have him write the invitations himself. Also, go to the Thousand-Jiao Pavilion and let Sister Jinling know who I've invited. Su Yingxue swiftly completed her tasks and went to sleep. Shulan checked the list and saw a name, admiringly exclaiming, "Miss is truly clever." As expected of Madame's daughter. How intriguing. In Yaoguang Garden, Su Yuro finally regained her spirits after being comforted by Lu Shulan for a while, along with Su Dingheng's affection. But seeing that Su Yingxue hadn't yet come to ask them back, Su Yuro couldn't contain her impatience. Mother, why hasn't Su Yingxue come to ask us back? Father's birthday banquet is just 2 days away. Is she going to embarrass father? Lu Shulan, holding a flower, tried to soothe Su Yuro. Don't be too hasty, or you might fall into Su Yingxue's trap again. I'm just angry. I won't return until she comes to beg me. Even if she does beg, I want her to kneel before I'll agree. Su Yuro was so proud that she forgot how harshly Su Yingxue had taught her. She was living in a dream. Lu Shulan, worried about her becoming despondent again, gave her some money to buy clothes and jewelry to lift her spirits. While arranging flowers alone, doubts about her plan began to spread. Her plan would surely make things difficult for Su Yingxue, but it had only just started, and she couldn't yet grasp Su Yingxue's strategy. Chapter 355. Beiqi had promised Su Dingheng, but she had not come to invite them. How could she be so sure what tricks they would use? Lu Shulan was lost in her thoughts and snapped the flower stalk in her hand. Su Yingxue, what are you thinking? Su Yuro had originally wanted to spend money and buy things to cheer herself up. However, after buying everything, she overheard people discussing. The day after tomorrow is the Marquis' birthday banquet. What are you guys going to wear? Of course, we have to dress up nicely. I heard that the 7th prince is going and Chu Jinling, the 9th prince too. Maybe even Chu Yihan, the 9th prince will attend. But they both have someone they love. The 9th prince is already betrothed. So what? He already had an imperial consort, but he didn't have a secondary consort. Moreover, the marriage between the 7th prince and the 9th prince had not been decided yet. Before they got married, who knew what would happen? If we work hard, even if we can't be the main consort, wouldn't it be nice to be the secondary consort? Of course it sounded great. That was what Su Yuro thought. But why did she only find out now that the 7th prince was going to the Marquis' birthday banquet? She hurried back to Yaoguang Garden with a huge pile of things she had bought, and threw herself into Lu Shulan's arms. Mother, I want to return to the Marquis Manor to attend father's birthday banquet. Lu Shulan frowned. What's the rush? Su Yingxue will come to invite us. If she doesn't come and invite us, how others will think if you go back? Previously, they had moved out to force Su Yingxue. Taking the initiative to return now would be shameful. Mother, the 7th prince will be attending the birthday banquet. Su Yingxue invited him. There are also several other princes and the 9th prince. Su Yuro couldn't help but cry, her red eyes filled with jealousy. Lu Shulan's eyes turned cold as she slammed her fist on the rosewood table. Su Yingxue, this is her plan. What plan? You. Lu Shulan looked at Su Yuro with disappointment. You care about the 7th prince, so you'll want to return to the Marquis Manor. Su Yingxue invited the 7th prince, so you have no choice but to return. If Su Yuro couldn't win over the 7th prince's heart, she wouldn't be able to marry into the prince's residence in the future. As a mother, she had to think about her daughter. Su Yingxue had only invited the 7th prince alone, but she had already forced the mother and daughter to obediently return to the Marquis Manor. The scenario of Su Yingxue humbly inviting them had been shattered. Su Yingxue. How could she be so despicable? Su Yuro cried out in panic. If I go back, it would be embarrassing. But if I don't go back, what if she seduced the 7th prince? He was already smitten by her. Nothing was more devastating for Su Yuro than seeing her beloved with her love rival. Mother, why don't we go back? Su Yuro pitifully lowered her head and begged weakly. Shulan was so angry that her face turned ashen. At this point, do we still have a reason not to go back? It was impossible for Su Yingxue to come and beg them in Yaoguang Garden. However, she wouldn't let Su Yingxue off too easily. In Fengzhou Palace. Today, Chu Qingye had arrived 2 hours early to pay his respects. And the Empress had not finished dressing up. Lu Fu came to report, "Your Majesty, the 7th Prince is waiting outside to pay his respects." The Empress sat in front of the dressing mirror, being attended to. She curled her lips coldly. Lady Lu was right. He came early. Su Yingxue had captivated her son. This bitch. Chapter 356. The Empress encouraged them. Chu Qingye had changed out of his court clothes. Before he came, he had put on a moon-white robe embroidered with dragons and auspicious clouds, which made him look tall and handsome. He had replaced the golden crown on his head with a jade crown, perfectly matching his elegant appearance. The Empress came out after dressing up. Seeing her son dressed so immaculately, she teasingly asked, "Where is my son off today? So cheerful." "Greetings, mother. I have no urgent matters today, so I plan to attend a banquet." Chu Qingye smiled, his appealing demeanor captivating even the Empress. However, the Empress' demeanor turned cold, her tone chilling. "Whose residence?" Originally, Chu Qingye had intentionally concealed the truth. He knew that his mother did not like Su Yingxue. However, it was rare for him to receive an invitation from Su Yingxue. After arriving early to pay his respects today, he had planned to swiftly go to Su Yingxue's side for the banquet. Now, Chu Qingye decided to disclose the truth to the Empress. Today is the birthday banquet of the Marquis of Martial South. You wish to see Su Yingxue, right? The Empress sneered. "Mother, please calm down." Sensing the Empress' anger, Chu Qingye obediently knelt. "Forget it. I also have a gift here. Take it to Su Yingxue." The Empress gestured, and Lu Fu handed Chu Qingye a box. Upon seeing a bright yellow silk cloth inside, Chu Qingye was slightly taken aback. "Mother, this decree." At the Marquis Manor, Su Yingxue hosted her 3rd banquet at the residence, already showing great finesse. Guests were delighted, and even those who once held grudges couldn't help but curry favor. Su Yingxue graciously accepted everyone. Approaching noon, it was almost time for the banquet to begin. Su Dingheng came over, his face grim. "Did you invite Shulan and Ruan? Why haven't they arrived yet? Are you deliberately depriving me of family happiness?" Su Yingxue's eyes narrowed slightly, her voice indifferent. "Father, the banquet hasn't commenced. No need to worry." With Chu Qingye's appearance today, Su Yuro and Shulan would surely come. But Chu Qingye had yet to arrive. "The 7th Prince has arrived," someone announced loudly at the door. Su Yingxue's lips curled slightly. "Father, don't worry. They'll be here soon." Su Dingheng, though displeased, had to accompany Su Yingxue to the door to welcome Chu Qingye. Chu Qingye's arrival made quite an impression. All the young miss blushed at his peerless charm. He held a bright yellow silk cloth and was accompanied by Shulan and her daughter. Su Yingxue frowned slightly. She intended to step forward to greet him, but Chu Qingye spoke coldly. "Marquis of Martial South, Su Yingxue accepts the edict." Quickly, Su Dingheng knelt. Seeing Su Yingxue still standing, he tugged at her clothes. "What are you doing? Hurry and kneel to accept the decree." Su Yingxue knelt, her brows furrowing slightly. Lady Lu is wise, dignified, and virtuous, suitable to be bestowed the title of concubine to the Marquis of Martial South. Her daughter, Su Yuro, is learned, elegant, and charming, suitable to be named County Lord of Rouching. All in the Marquis Manor of South shall be rewarded. After Chu Qingye read the decree, Su Dingheng joyfully received it. He approached Shulan and her daughter, beaming. "Lainaruer, you can finally enter the manor legitimately." The Empress' decree not only admitted Shulan, but also honored Su Yuro with the title of County Lord, elevating her status to match Su Yingxue's. In front of Su Yingxue, Su Yuro held her chin high, displaying a proud demeanor. Chapter 357 Rules? Su Yingxue slowly stood up. Her beautiful face was covered with a layer of frost. The Empress had intentionally made Lu Shulan a concubine, and even made Suyuro the county lord, allowing them to enter the Marquis manor in glory. In order to attack her, she didn't hesitate to raise the status of Lu Shulan and Suyuro. Su Yingxue's lips curled up coldly. The Empress had put in a lot of effort. Su Yingxue, why aren't you accepting the decree? Chu Chengye looked at her coldly and seemed very dissatisfied. As a prince, he had received much attention since he was young. Today, when he came dressed up, Su Yingxue didn't even look at him. She even ignored his mother's orders, which made him very unhappy. Empress' decree did not mention me, so why should one accept it? Su Yingxue's performance was decent, but her tone carried a hint of arrogance. Su Yingxue, Chu Chengye gritted his teeth. Every time he saw her being so unyielding, he wanted to teach her a lesson and make her kneel in front of him so that she would give in to him. Your Highness, sister has worked so hard for the birthday banquet. I think she is not happy because she didn't get a reward. Please don't hold it against her, Suyuro said considerately. The smile on her face was bright and beautiful. She seemed to be considerate of Su Yingxue, but it made everyone more and more clear that no matter how much Su Yingxue did, she was only a daughter of the Marquis manor. However, she and her mother were valued by the Empress. This was something that Su Yingxue couldn't compare to. Shulan stood behind Su Yingxue with an angry look in her eyes. What's there to be proud of? She was merely rewarded by the Empress. Had her miss not been rewarded by the Emperor before? Congratulations to Aunt for entering the residence. Since Aunt has returned to the residence, let's start a banquet to celebrate Father's birthday. Su Yingxue glanced at Shulan and told her to hold it in and not say anything else. Shulan immediately restrained her expression and became cautious. Lu Shulan waved her sleeves and walked in front of Su Yingxue. With a gentle expression, she said, Yingxue, one know that it is hard for you to be in charge, but you have organized this birthday banquet for Marquis in a rather shabby manner. The banquet is held in the reception hall, and I don't know if the preparations are sufficient. If I were to be in charge, one would make Marquis' birthday banquet more dignified. Su Yingxue's eyes were cold. Lu Shulan came in with the identity of an aunt, and she wanted to take her down a notch. Shulan could answer without her asking. Lady Lu, because it is not Master's birthday, Miss has followed the old rules of the Marquis manor. The banquet is sufficient, and the 4 divisions and 6 chefs have backups. There is nothing that is not presentable or shabby. Lu Shulan's eyes flashed with a cold light. I'm talking to the eldest young Mississippi. Do you think a maid like you has the right to interrupt? Smack. Suyuro stepped forward and slapped Shulan. 5 fingerprints instantly appeared on Xilan's fair face. She bit her lip. I'm just answering the question on behalf of Mississippi. Smack. Beside Suyuro, Yuan Rua slapped Shulan again and shouted with a stern expression. You're just a lowly servant. How dare you call yourself me in front of Aunt and the county lord? You deserve a beating. You. Shulan covered her face and retreated. Su Yingxue did not react, so she endured this grievance. But just as she retreated, Su Yingxue smiled and said, The first thing you want to do when you enter the residence is to talk about rules with me, right? In the past, Lu Shulan did not have any status and could only lower herself. Now that she and Suyuro had status, the aura on her body was different. Yingxue, I shouldn't have done this today, but since I've entered the residence and am your elder, I have to teach you well. All right. Su Yingxue curled her lips and pulled out the red jade soft whip from her waist. She immediately threw it at Suyuro and her servant. Chapter 358. Father, you want to punish me? The red jade soft whip was as fast as lightning, as swift as a serpent, leaving sharp marks on Suyuro and Yuan Rua's bodies. Pa. Pa. Su Yingxue administered 2 lashes to each of them, causing Suyuro and Yuan Rua to fall to the ground in agony. Lu Shulan's expression drastically changed. Rua. She hastily assisted Suyuro. Though Su Yingxue didn't target her face, the whip left open wounds on her body. Suyuro cried out, Su Yingxue, how dare you hit me? Sister, this was Aunt's directive. She intended to discuss rules with me first. Su Yingxue gently stroked the whip, her eyes sharp and cold. Su Yingxue, What are you doing? Shulan reminded you of the rules, but you resorted to violence. Is that what the rules dictate? Su Dingheng hurriedly intervened. He had originally wanted to happily bring Lu Shulan and her daughter back to the manor today. He couldn't be happier that both of them had a status. But now, Su Yingxue had injured Su Yuro with a whip. Of course it's part of the rules. Father and aunt suggested my maid had no right to interrupt. Does that imply sister's maid does? Both are maids. What's wrong with me teaching an insolent maid a lesson? Su Yingxue remained composed. Su Dingheng was momentarily stunned. But you accidentally injured your sister. Sister, it wasn't accidental. It was a lesson for her too. Su Yingxue corrected. Su Dingheng felt a lump in his throat. Lu Shulan was indignant. Eldest young miss, it's justifiable to discipline a maid, but why did you whip my ruer until her skin broke? After Lu Shulan spoke, her eyes teared up, accusing Su Yingxue of being ruthless. Su Yingxue calmly addressed the situation. Aunt is new here. Allow me to clarify a rule. In this Marquis manor, if a servant errs, it reflects poorly on the master's training. It's our responsibility to correct them. I discipline my younger sister as a warning. She needs to properly manage her servants. If she recklessly inflicts harm, she'll share in the punishment. Su Yingxue's explanation seemed reasonable. Although the rules were strict, within a household of military background, such severity was deemed common by the guests. Consequently, they didn't see Su Yingxue's actions against Su Yuro as unjustified, especially since Su Yuro initiated the altercation. Your maid also erred. Why don't you punish yourself? Despite her injuries, Su Yuro gnashed her teeth, pointing at Su Yingxue. The only one who can punish me in this household is father. Turning away, Su Yingxue's indifferent gaze held a trace of sharpness. Father, are you going to punish me today? Su Dingheng felt choked by this internal conflict. Today was his birthday banquet, and Su Yingxue had overseen everything. If he punished her, who would handle affairs? Wouldn't that publicly humiliate himself? With a darkened expression, Su Dingheng instructed Lu Shulan. Take Ruer for treatment. Yes, Marquis. Lu Shulan complied, though she seemed unwilling. Su Yuro openly wept, but Lu Shulan prevented her from creating a scene. Meanwhile, Chu Chengye, standing aside, noticed Su Yingxue continuing to entertain guests, deliberately ignoring him. He seethed with anger. His mother's words reverberated in his mind. You value Su Yingxue's invitation today, but she's just using you. Chapter 359. Cousin Su Yingxue didn't have time to deal with Chu Chengye. After the banquet ended, she found a pavilion and sat down, quietly contemplating the reason for the Empress favored Su Yuro and her mother. Shulun attended to her, softly whispering, Miss, someone is here. Somewhat weary, Su Yingxue opened her eyes and saw a woman in an elegant azure gown, holding a thin veil. She adorned her head with a jade hairpin, a symbol of her status. Tassels accompanying her soft laughter produced a crisp sound. Did I disturb sister's rest? Su Han smiled faintly, her pure beauty carrying a touch of grace. Su Yingxue smiled and gestured to the seat in front of her. Su Han, please have a seat. Su Han was her uncle's daughter, well-educated since childhood, born into the Marquis manor, and with her father serving in the Ministry of Works, she was destined for a good match. But what was even more fortunate was her marriage to the prince's mansion in Yang'an County. It had left all the women of the Su family envious. At the time of her marriage, Su Yingxue was still quite young, but she remembered her cousin before her marriage, radiating a scholarly aura, holding books, resembling a painting's fairy. Now, that fairy-like countenance seemed somewhat fatigued by the world, and the scholarly aura had waned. Su Han took the initiative to seek Su Yingxue out, speaking with enthusiasm. It's been a while, sister. You've become shrewder and more dignified after taking charge of the Marquis manor. Su Han was genuinely surprised to see Su Yingxue today, locked within the prince's mansion in Yang'an County. She couldn't meet often, but she had heard numerous rumors about Su Yingxue, quite different from the sister in her memories. Seeing her today was indeed extraordinary. However, Su Yingxue sensed something different in her cousin's words. She propped up her cheek. Cousin, do you think I've been too forceful in asserting my authority today? If sister asks, I'll be candid. In my view, yes, Su-Han replied, fanning herself, her eyes holding a deep meaning. Seeing Su Yingxue waiting for her to continue, she added, although you disciplined Aunt Lu and her daughter today, it left a pitiful impression on them in front of everyone. Firstly, it's not good for your reputation. Secondly, if Aunt Lu causes trouble in the future, the relationship between second uncle and you might be endangered. Relationship? Su Yingxue sneered. I don't care about that. But you're not married yet. Some things require consideration. However, since Aunt Lu covets the power you hold, second uncle will still have the final say in the Marquis manner. Su-Han advised carefully, every word sincere. Su Yingxue nodded. I understand, Su-Han. I won't create conflicts in public in the future. But if you're here, is there something I can help you with? Su Yingxue's relaxed demeanor eased Su-Han's tension. People don't visit without reason. Su Yingxue thought. Although Su-Han was her cousin, she wouldn't come to talk if it wasn't necessary. Su-Han's scholarly aura was shrouded in a sense of helplessness. Indeed, I've come to ask sister for help today. I'd like sister to diagnose me, check my pulse, and examine my body. Su Yingxue's brow furrowed slightly. Is cousin unwell? Let me take your pulse. Su Yingxue reached out and felt Su-Han's pulse. Su-Han's words were tinged with a deep bitterness. Sister, you're not married yet, so you don't understand the agony of a woman without children. It's been 3 years since I married, and I still haven't born a child. It's distressing. Chapter 360. Stomp her to pieces. Su-Han, I'm afraid you're not just uncomfortable, but you've also faced a lot of hardship, haven't you? Su Yingxue's eyes held a touch of sympathy. She took Su-Han to her room, had her undressed, and lay on the bed. After a simple examination, she diagnosed Su-Han's 3-year infertility. Pressing on Su-Han's abdomen, she asked, do you experience irregular menstruation and frequent abdominal pain? Su-Han nodded. Sometimes, the pain is unbearable, especially during my period. It's a continuous discomfort even when I drink water. Su Yingxue brought out pen and paper, writing as she spoke. Your meridians are blocked. There's a heavy chill in your abdomen, compounded by daily exertions, severely weakening your body, hence the inability to conceive. Nervously clutching her chest, Su-Han spoke with anxiety. Sister, can you cure me? One need a child. Perhaps Su Yingxue couldn't fathom the tribulations of marrying into a prince's mansion. But now, other than bearing children, she had no other recourse. Su Yingxue chuckled softly. Didn't you teach me how to handle Lady Lu for the sake of healing you? If I fail, wouldn't I let you down? Su-Han blushed. Despite my self-interest, we the direct line, still hope you can lead a good life. Don't let those villains take advantage, turning the Marquis manor into chaos. Finishing the prescription, Su Yingxue handed it over saying, don't worry. I won't disgrace the Su family's legitimate daughter. Su-Han smiled, carefully keeping the prescription. Just as Su Yingxue was about to see her off, she hesitated and asked, Sister, do you have golden wound medicine for treating injuries? Su Yingxue instructed Shulan to fetch a bottle. As a doctor, I naturally have all kinds of medicine. Is someone injured in sister's household? Su-Han shook her head. Since sister helped me today, I'll help you again. Just watch. Sometimes a few words can hurt a woman more than a whip. Su-Han's eyes held a deeper meaning. She headed toward Su Yura's sunset court. Curious, Su Yingxue brought Shulan to observe from outside. After a while, Su-Han was pushed out by Su Yuro, holding the golden wound medicine. She fell, the bottle shattered, looking pitiable and disheveled. Having married into the regional prince's mansion, Su Dingheng naturally rushed over. Painer? What happened? Quick, get up. Seeing her injuries, Su Dingheng promptly helped her up. Su-Han had always been seen as dignified and refined. Yet now, speaking with a sigh, it seems as a regional princess, am not worthy to deliver medicine to Sister Yuro. Hence my present state. She turned to Su Dingheng. Second uncle, one was concerned for Sister Yuro. I brought her the medicine, but I ended up injured. I wonder how the regional prince will blame her. 111 Take my leave now. She departed swiftly, denying Su Dingheng any chance to apologize. Su Dingheng was furious. Turning, he slapped Su Yuro. Ungrateful child. Have you lost your mind? Hainer is the princess of Yangon County. She kindly brought medicine for you, and you've hurt her. Being a county lord doesn't make you superior to the Yangon County princess. You're simply foolish. Father, she provoked me. She didn't sincerely come to see me. She did it on purpose. Su Yuro pleaded in the grievance. If she had pushed someone else, Su Dingheng might have listened. But now Su Dingheng left, not sparing her a glance. Su Yuro's pride in being appointed county lord was shattered in an instant. Chapter 361. Beautiful man in front. Su Yingxue curled her lips. Su Han indeed lives up to being the regional princess, quite formidable. Miss, one need to learn this technique from Miss Han. Xilan's eyes sparkled. Giving Su Yuro a taste of her whip was satisfying, but causing her injury and embarrassment was even more enjoyable for Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue thought there was a saying, playing the innocent card but leaving no escape for the manipulator. Su Yingxue. The man's deep voice resonated with suppressed anger. Su Yingxue suddenly turned around, spotting Chu Chengye standing there. She replied indifferently, "Seventh Prince." About to leave. She disregarded Chu Chengye as if he were air. Chu Chengye couldn't contain himself and grabbed her hand. "What do you take me for? A pawn? A tool to be used and then discarded?" A hint of surprise flickered in Su Yingxue's eyes. "You react quite swiftly. As expected of the prince valued by Chu Mingyuan. You." Chu Chengye grew even angrier. How could he be so spineless and let her use him? Clearly he didn't need to come today. However, when the Marquis Manor invitation was delivered to him, he couldn't help but be moved. He cornered Su Yingxue. He was too angry. "What do you take me for? Even if you were using me, you didn't write that invitation yourself. After Lu Shulan and her daughter returned, you didn't even cast a glance." Su Yingxue looked at him calmly. "Because you've lost your value. Don't you understand, Your Highness?" Chu Chengye took a deep breath, closing his eyes. He knew. How could he not know? "Su Yingxue, is there still a place for me in your heart?" Chu Chengye's voice trembled when he asked. He had to admit that Su Yingxue had occupied a significant place in his heart. She had gradually taken over. But as his eyes avoided hers, he dared not meet Su Yingxue's gaze, afraid of her coldness, afraid of not being in her eyes anymore. But not looking didn't mean Su Yingxue would spare him. Breaking free from Chu Chengye's hold, she pushed him away. "Seventh Prince, it's time to wake up. You've never been in my heart." From the moment she opened her eyes, Chu Chengye had died in her previous life. This time, he was just one of the people she had to deal with. Possess her heart? He is dreaming. Su Yingxue thought. Su Yingxue, I'll make you regret this. Chu Chengye growled, bloodshot eyes filled with resentment. Su Yingxue was supposed to be his. Disregarding him as night fell, she stealthily entered the ninth prince's mansion. Though she claimed to have infiltrated, she merely scaled a wall and confidently strolled into the ninth prince's mansion. Then she barged into Chu Yihan's room. There was a hint of dampness in the air, and Su Yingxue caught the fragrance of rain. It was delightful. Especially when the robust figure of a man appeared before her. His restrained aura mixed with that fragrance. Amid the visual and olfactory collision, Su Yingxue felt sparks in her eyes. "Your Highness, why aren't you properly dressed?" She swiftly turned around, tilting her head to prevent a nosebleed. "Want to gift the story? Try one." Chapter 362. Lu Shulan's destruction. Chu Yihan's voice carried a hint of seductive laziness. "You barged into my room and blamed me for not wearing clothes? Su Yingxue bit her lip. "Then wear it well. Can you not flaunt your good figure so late at night?" "Oh." Chu Yihan's voice was indifferent. He leaned lazily on the couch. Su Yingxue turned around and saw this terrible scene. She walked to Chu Yihan's side as if surrendering and reached out to him. Hug. With a handsome man in front of her, she couldn't resist the temptation of this beauty. Chu Yihan was holding a military book in his hand. His aloof and abstinent appearance made it even more difficult for people to control themselves. Su Yingxue took a deep breath and sat in his embrace. She bit his shoulder. "What is your highness doing today? Aren't you going to the Marquis Manor to play? What's so fun about it? To see you and my nephew catch up?" As soon as he said this, Chu Yihan's body carried a hint of bleak killing intent. Su Yingxue looked up with sparkling eyes. "Your highness went and you still peeked." Bang! Chu Yihan knocked her head with a book. "Why would I peek?" He climbed over the wall openly and stood on top of it. Was that peeping? Su Yingxue was in pain. She covered her head and muttered, "You were peeking. How dare you hit me?" Chu Yihan looked at her puffy face and couldn't help but kiss her. It was cold at night after autumn, but fortunately, he could see her every night, and there was a moment of warmth. Shulan and her daughter had a status and entered the Marquis Manor. They were no longer as low-key as before, and were no longer subservient. Every day, Shulan would drag Su Yingxue to the manor to interrogate her about the matters that she was handling. After that, she would go down to carry out her orders. Every time she interrogated her, it would delay her for 15 minutes. The more she interrogated, the more 1 or 2 matters in Marquis Manor would be delayed. Old Madame Zhang reported the situation of the courtyards, the 4 divisions, and the 6 chefs to Su Yingxue. Jilan also held some cards that had yet to be distributed and frowned. "Miss, in the long run, there will be too many delays in the residence. There will be complaints, and they won't blame Aunt Lu. Instead, they will all blame you, miss, for not doing your job well." Su Yingxue examined the accounts in the residence and said indifferently, "This is what she's planning. In less than a month, father will use this reason to confiscate my authority as the steward. Miss, we can't just sit around and let things escalate like that." Jilan immediately became nervous. "Of course not." Su Yingxue raised her head. "Call old Madame Zhang over, and tell me about the situation in the residence." Old Madame Zhang came over quietly and explained in detail. For example, Shulan wandered around the residence every day and checked everywhere. Although she did not have any real power, she was always giving pointers. Moreover, Su Dingheng doted on her, so the people in the residence had to give her face. On the other hand, Su Yingxue was the steward, and Shulan was giving orders. The servants were also in a difficult position. Gradually, the hearts of the servants began to waver. Su Yingxue drank a cup of tea. As expected, Shulan has started to counterattack. "There is one more thing. Miss must be careful." One noticed that there were always people wandering around the accounting room. Miss' account book and token must be kept well. If the person who is concerned about it steals it, Miss' previous efforts will be in vain. Old Madame Zhang tried her best to persuade her. This reminded Su Yingxue that after Jilan sent her away, she brought a new account book and copied it all over again. Then she gave Jilan a piece of wood. "I remember that you know how to carve." Chapter 363. Chu Chengye sees clinic. Jilan nodded. "What do you want to engrave, miss?" Su Yingxue handed her a pair of tokens and asked her to carve an identical one. Jilan chuckled. Su Yingxue's thinking was indeed clever. Now they were just missing an opportunity to go out and avoid being taken advantage of. "Miss, something's not right." Lai Sen rushed to Marquis Manor, looking like he was being chased by a hungry wolf. "What happened?" Su Yingxue asked, seeing his disheveled state. If it were nothing urgent, he wouldn't have appeared in Marquis Manor like this. "Miss, a group of people came today, claiming the clinic was harboring fugitives. They took away a patient, Manager Qi, and all the doctors. Manager Qi told me to escape the chaos and inform you. I had no choice but to crawl through Marquis Manor's dog hole." Lai Sen was very anxious. Harboring fugitives? Su Yingxue furrowed her brows slightly. "Who came to apprehend them? Where did they go?" "I don't know, but I've been begging for years." One recognized their clothes. They seemed to be officials from the Ministry of Justice. Lai Sen gestured. Su Yingxue pondered for a moment. The Minister of Justice currently had no connection with their family, and was an honorable official. Why would they directly arrest the clinic's people? "Miss, could the clinic be harboring a fugitive?" Jilan was somewhat frightened. "It's unlikely. Manager Qi only treated a patient with severe injuries. Dr. Qin had just administered medicine. He hadn't even written a prescription when the people from the Ministry of Justice stormed in to make arrests. I feel there's something suspicious about this. Lai San scratched his head. Despite being a former beggar, he was knowledgeable. Such matters were usually traps. However, who set the trap, and how exceeded his understanding? Su Yingxue didn't know if the clinic harbored fugitives, but she recalled something. Apart from the Minister of Justice, Chu Chengye was also in charge of the Ministry of Justice. He had threatened her just the day before yesterday. Su Yingxue's lips curved into a sharp arc. She had Shulan find some sturdy wooden planks, then headed straight to the Ministry of Justice. As Su Yingxue left the door, she spotted a shadow sneaking into the accountant's room, a hint of mockery in her eyes. In the Ministry of Justice's prison, Su Yingxue revealed the cold jade on her neck and easily located the cell where Manager Qi and the others were held. Upon seeing Su Yingxue, Manager Qi and the others brightened up. "Miss," Su Yingxue gestured with her hand. "Don't panic. Tell me everything in detail. I'll figure out a way to save you." "All right." Manager Qi's relieved heart settled. Su Yingxue's composed demeanor was extremely reassuring. He briefed Su Yingxue. She realized that the seriously ill person Manager Qi took in was a fugitive and was likely intentionally placed at the clinic. "We don't know where the fugitive is being held. Miss, he's close to death. If he dies, everyone in our clinic will have a hard time explaining." Manager Qi's expression held worry. Su Yingxue nodded. "I'll go save him. You all stay here." She turned and questioned the jailer. "Where is the fugitive you captured?" The jailer hesitated. "He's locked in, where he should be imprisoned." "Where?" Su Yingxue's voice carried a commanding tone, holding the cold jade in her hand. The jailer nervously led her to the cell. When they walked, his legs trembled. Half of it was fear of her, and the other half was fear of the token in her hand. Chapter 364. Chu Chengye, wake up. When Su Yingxue arrived at the cell, she smelled a stench. It was emitted by the fugitive's body. It was probably because his wound had not been treated for many days. The smell of blood carried the smell of pus from the wound. Su Yingxue tossed aside a few boards and proceeded to examine him. "You have multiple fractures all over your body. Your legs and arms are completely broken. Yet you managed to walk to the clinic. A true hero you are." Su Yingxue smiled helplessly. This was probably the most troublesome patient she had ever had since she took over the clinic. She removed his clothes and washed him with spring water, finally seeing his skin's true color. His wheat-colored skin indicated a disciplined martial artist. Numerous scars adorned his body, some from old injuries. Su Yingxue realigned his bones, securing his limbs with wooden boards before treating the wounds. As she worked, she speculated. "This person doesn't seem like a criminal. He appears more like someone returning from the battlefield." Yet, she was certain she had never seen his clean face in either of her lifetimes. Thinking himself in Yama's palace, Qin Mayan, upon opening his blurry eyes, was astonished to behold Su Yingxue's stunning visage. "Are you Mengpe, guiding me through the afterlife?" "Mengpe?" Su Yingxue laughed. "Have you ever seen such a young and beautiful Mengpe?" "No." Qin Mayan shook his head. Mengpe could only be seen after death. If he didn't see Mengpe now, he wasn't dead. This extraordinary woman before him had saved him. "Miss, may I ask?" "Answer my question first. What crime did you commit to be arrested?" Su Yingxue fixed him with a wary gaze. Meeting her captivating eyes, Qin Mayan answered honestly. I haven't committed a crime. One don't know why one was captured. Where is this place?" "The Ministry of Justice's prison," Su Yingxue responded. Observing the surroundings, Qin Mayan noticed it differed from the Great Wei Dynasty's Ministry of Justice prison he knew. He frowned. "This isn't the Great Wei Dynasty's Ministry of Justice, but the Great Qing Dynasty?" Su Yingxue was incredulous. "You don't even know where you are?" She felt some sympathy moments ago, presuming he left his hometown. But what did he just say? Great Wei Dynasty's prison? "Are you from the Great Wei Dynasty?" Su Yingxue's pupils contracted. His wounds and the severity of his injuries suggested he wasn't an ordinary person from the Great Wei Dynasty. Her mother hailed from the Great Wei Dynasty. Your Great Wei Dynasty, Su Yingxue was about to inquire when Chu Qingye interrupted. Su Yingxue, how dare you intrude into the Ministry of Justice's prison? Bringing several people, he encircled Su Yingxue and Qin Mayan. Su Yingxue had no choice but to stand and face Chu Qingye. She flashed the cold jade in her hand, her cold eyes carrying a trace of arrogance. Why can't one break into the Ministry of Justice's prison? Imperial Uncle's cold jade. Chu Qingye's eyes widened, turmoil in his heart. How is it with you? Su Yingxue, how dare you? Seventh Prince, you should be more clear-headed. No one in the world dares to snatch the Ninth Prince's things. If it appears in my hands, it's undoubtedly a gift from the Ninth Prince. Chapter 365. Chu Yihan cannot touch the Ministry of Justice. Seventh Prince, you should think more clearly. No one in the world would dare steal from the Ninth Prince. Since it's in my hands, Your Highness must have given it to me. As he has, one have the right to use the cold jade to enter and leave the imperial prison. One also request a thorough investigation into my clinic harboring a fugitive. She emphasized the word fugitive, compelling Chu Qingye to take it seriously. He waved his hand coldly. Take this person to the court. 111 personally judge him. Su Yingxue hadn't expected Chu Qingye to handle the case so seriously. Without asking Qin Mayan a few questions, he declared his guilt, throwing him back into the cell. Furthermore, he concluded that the clinic's harboring constituted a grave offense, and they all must face legal consequences. Su Yingxue intercepted Chu Qingye. Is this how the Seventh Prince manages the Ministry of Justice? With such management, how many unjust cases will arise? How many innocents will die? Do one need you to teach me how to work? Su Yingxue, if you can get Imperial Uncle's cold jade, then ask Imperial Uncle to help you. Let's see if he can intervene. If you're incapable, just watch everyone in the clinic fall into my hands. Chu Qingye's smile held a trace of malice. Rather than immediately seeking Chu Yihan, Su Yingxue visited the capital prefecture and consulted Liang Jin about the matter. Liang Jin sighed. Miss Su, if the Seventh Prince presides, this matter might be challenging. Why? Can't Lord Liang help? Su Yingxue was puzzled. Although the Ministry of Justice handled cases nationwide, Liang Jin oversaw all cases in Jiangdu City. If he wanted to bring this issue to trial, he should have the authority, right? Moreover, before Su Yingxue could mention Chu Yihan's name, Liang Jin informed her. One fear even the Ninth Prince can't intervene in this matter. Although you can use the cold jade to enter the Ministry of Justice's prison, the late Emperor decreed that Your Highness should never interfere with the Ministry of Justice. Otherwise, had be charged with treason. Why? Su Yingxue's expression was filled with doubt. The late Emperor had such a decree? Did Chu Yihan do something? When Your Highness was young, he accidentally killed a Minister of Justice. Despite sparing his life, the Emperor strictly prohibited Your Highness from meddling in the Ministry of Justice. The Seventh Prince boldly bringing someone to the Ministry of Justice indicates it was premeditated. Liang Jin clarified the situation for Su Yingxue. She nodded slightly in gratitude. Thank you, Lord Liang. Given the circumstances, she couldn't involve Chu Yihan. She had to rely on herself to save everyone from the clinic. However, she hadn't yet figured out how to confront Chu Qingye. She summoned Ziwei and instructed him. Take this heart protection pill to that man from Great Wei Dynasty, and tell him that even if he dies, I'll go to Mengpu and retrieve him. Don't let Chu Qingye harm him. Ziwei nodded. Understood. With Ziwei overseeing the Ministry of Justice's prison, Su Yingxue felt less concerned. As soon as she entered the Marquis Manor, Su Dingheng summoned her to the front hall. Holding the account book, he hurled it at her when she arrived. Su Yingxue, what have you done? The accounts are a mess, and things are a complete mess. How are you managing this household? Su Yingxue dodged the attack, grabbing the account book. She explained in a subdued tone. Father, something happened at the clinic. I've been a bit busy. You're busy? If you're busy, why bother with the household? Since you can't manage this pair of tokens properly, I'm taking them back completely. Go busy yourself at the clinic. You don't need to manage the household anymore. Su Dingheng's face was filled with anger. Chapter 366. Do you still remember my mother? After scolding Su Yingxue, he turned around and handed half of the token to Lu Shulan. Laner, you are now the aunt of the residence. I'll leave the accounts and the token to you. Don't disappoint me. Lu Shulan was delighted. Yes, Marquis. When she turned around to look at Su Yingxue, her expression became a little proud. Yingxue, you have so many things on your hands that, inevitably, you can't take care of the Marquis Manor's matters. From now on, Aunt will be in charge of the Marquis Manor. You don't have to work so hard. Aunt, a fake token and account book. Aunt probably can't manage the Marquis Manor. Su Yingxue's eyes curved into crescents as she revealed an innocent smile. She took out the token from her waist and showed it to Su Dingheng. Father, the token is such an important thing. Why would one put it in the accounting room? Also, this account book was originally a fake account book that one made and placed in the accounting room. I wanted to see what kind of evil people there were in our Marquis Manor. Flo, did it end up in the hands of father and aunt now? Isla's rhetorical question made Su Dingheng stunned. The token in your hand is the real one? Why don't father compete? Su Yingxue brought the token to Su Dingheng's side. Su Dingheng had another token on him. Fai compared it with the token in Su Yingxue's hand and Lu Shulan's hand. Obviously, the token in Lu Shulan's hands was fake. It was just carved from a random piece of wood, and then painted with a layer of paint. It was not golden Namu at all. Lu Shulan's face instantly turned pale. Jilan, bring the account book over. Su Yingxue called out, and Jilan immediately brought over the real account book. She handed it to Su Dingheng and asked him to check it carefully. Father, are there any mistakes in the account book? Su Dingheng blushed. There's no mistake. Since there is no such thing, does father still want to take back my right to manage the household? Su Yingxue blinked her big innocent eyes as if she had been bullied. Su Dingheng looked a little unhappy. He glared at Lu Shulan with resentment. Some people have evil thoughts. You should manage the household. Yes, father. Su Yingxue watched as Su Dingheng flicked his sleeves and left, revealing an obedient smile. Lu Shulan panicked and quickly chased after Su Dingheng. Marquis, please listen to my explanation. She did not manage to catch up to Su Dingheng, and almost sprained her ankle. Su Yingxue slowly walked over from behind her. She chuckled softly. Aunt, slow down. Otherwise, you might make another mistake. The gains will not make up for the losses. The cynicism in her eyes slowly turned into mockery. Lu Shulan bit her lip and blood flowed into her mouth. Su Yingxue walked to Lu Shulan's side. She was half a head taller than Lu Shulan. She bent down and faced her face. She had a calm smile on her face. Does it hurt to fall into this pit? Lu Shulan's heart sank. Of course, it hurt to fall into this pit. Su Yuro had lost face at the birthday banquet, and after she entered the manor, she was anxious to catch Su Yingxue's mistake, wanting to take charge of Marquis Manor. However, because she had stolen the fake account book and token, she had made Su Dingheng loathe her. Not only had she fallen into the trap that Su Yingxue had specially made for her, but she had even fallen and bled. Flo, could it not hurt? Eldest young miss, do you want to chase us out again? Lu Shulan struggled to control her expression, so that she would not look too embarrassed in front of Su Yingxue. However, Su Yingxue said something that made her blood turn cold. One just want to ask you, do you still remember my mother? Chapter 367. The special bloodline of Great Wei Dynasty royal family Lu Shulan had nightmares the entire night. She dreamt of Long Shuli, a figure as high and mighty as a god, but capable of beating her to a pulp with just one move. In her dream, there was a man wearing a black hat. His voice was hoarse. As long as you lure Long Shuli out of Marquis Manor, I guarantee she won't be alive to fight you for everything in the Marquis Manor. She followed the instructions, and Long Shuli died in childbirth. She thought that after so many years, no one would bring it up again. However, she didn't expect Su Yingxue to question her. What did she find out? Initially, Su Yingxue only intended to warn Lu Shulan. The next day, she still visited the Great Wei Dynasty man imprisoned. Qin Mayan could already sit up. Su Yingxue approached him, and was startled when she saw him. Then, she took his pulse and found that besides the broken bones and muscles, all other wounds were healing rapidly. Even his internal energy was recovering quickly. Why did you recover so quickly? Su Yingxue asked, genuinely puzzled. Because of the special bloodline, Qin Mayan replied, observing her as he spoke. He constantly felt like he had met her before and should know her. However, he had spent the whole night trying to recall but couldn't remember that he knew Su Yingxue. He had to say that this illusion was too strong. Are all the people of the Great Wei Dynasty's bloodlines this special? Su Yingxue furrowed her brow slightly. She had heard her brother say that the troops of the Great Wei Dynasty were brave and skilled in battle. They were like tigers and wolves. In just a few years, they invaded the 4 countries from the frontier, overthrew the previous dynasty, and established the Great Wei Dynasty. Their heroic spirit had intimidated the other 3 countries. Qin Mayan wanted to tell her that only the imperial family of the Great Wei Dynasty had this special bloodline. However, considering they didn't know each other, and he was in a foreign country, he had to be cautious. He nodded and said, yes. Su Yingxue took a sharp breath. She suddenly worried about Su Hao, who guarded the bamboo leaf pass. If he encountered an enemy with such a terrifying bloodline, Su Hao might suffer if a battle broke out. However, she couldn't think that far ahead now. She could only ask Qin Mayan where he came from, what crime he committed, and why he went to the clinic that day. Qin Mayan didn't hide anything. I was seriously injured in battle and unconscious for a long time. When one woke up, I was in this strange place. Then, I ran for my life and fainted at a clinic. He also heard Su Yingxue's explanation. In that case, I have implicated your clinic. You've indeed implicated my clinic, but you're not a member of the Great Qing Dynasty. Even if you were casually treated as a fugitive, you wouldn't have been able to seek justice. Su Yingxue's brows were furrowed with worry. This was what disgusted Chu Qingye. If anyone claimed someone was a fugitive, he would immediately sentence the person to death and implicate the clinic. It wasn't difficult for him. However, if Su Yingxue wanted to overturn the case for the clinic and couldn't ask Chu Yihan for help, it was difficult. Liang Jing couldn't do anything about it either. The emperor then viewed her as an enemy and didn't help her. No matter how one looked at it, the situation was a dead end. Chu Qingye had forced her to beg him. Miss, if you wanted to save someone, I had. Qin Mayan had just taken out a bright yellow jade pendant with the word Wei carved on it. He was prepared to say that as long as he revealed his identity, the people of the Great Qing Dynasty wouldn't dare to unjustly kill him. But before he could finish, Su Yingxue left. Qin Mayan couldn't help but laugh as he looked at her departing figure. She's impatient. Chapter 368. Chu Qingye couldn't sit still anymore, however. He had intentionally concealed it from her, so it was normal for Su Yingxue not to listen to him finish speaking. At the very least, her decisiveness was rare. After Su Yingxue left the imperial prison, she stayed in Marquis Manor. At this time, the more Chu Qingye forced her to look for him, the more she wanted to delay meeting him. He might not harm the people in the clinic, but if she entered the 7th prince's residence, it would be hard to say. When she returned to the Marquis Manor, Wu Jinyan had also come over. Wu Jinyan saw that her expression was cold, and she could feel her fatigue. She quickly helped her sit down and sprinkled some perfume on her. The matters of the clinic and the Marquis Manor are a lot. You should take some time to rest. Otherwise, if your brother finds out, he'll be heartbroken. Brother sent a letter? Su Yingxue's eyes lit up. Wu Jinyan handed her an envelope. He just sent it over. He even brought back a few seashells and conches from the beach for us to enjoy. Wu Jinyan handed a few pieces of colorful shells to Su Yingxue. I made a wind chime with the rest and hung it at the head of the bed. Listening to the sound of the wind chime every day is like smelling the scent of the sea. Sister-in-law, it seems to me that you're not just smelling the sea breeze. You're sensing my brother's affection for you, right? Su Yingxue winked playfully. Wu Jinyan, a practical person, only spoke this way when it came to the sweetness between her and Su Hao. At the mention of Su Hao, all the longing in her heart surged out. In the past we couldn't see each other every day, but being in Jiangdu City together, I didn't know that the pain of longing could be so intense. Su Yingxue could tell that she missed Su Hao very much. 3 years of waiting wouldn't pass in the blink of an eye. She didn't expect someone as careful as Wu Jinyan to boldly go to Bamboo Leaf Pass to look for Su Hao. However, all of this happened later. Right now, her heart was only occupied with her mother and the clinic. She still wanted to find some clues from that man from the Great Wei Dynasty, so she flipped through all the records left behind by her mother. However, she found that her mother had written so much, yet there was no record of the Great Wei Dynasty, especially the Great Wei Dynasty's imperial family. Su Yingxue felt that her mother's thoughts were becoming more difficult to guess. She took out the black box that couldn't be opened. She wanted to use poison to corrode the box and open it, but it turned out that not only could the box not be corroded, but its surface became even brighter. Su Yingxue was speechless. She felt powerless. Mother, can't the mystery you left behind be solved a little easier? Su Yingxue thought to herself. The next day, before Su Yingxue went to the accountant's office, Su Yuro came to her courtyard. She had red eyes and looked like she wanted to eat someone up. Su Yingxue, you bitch. You went to seduce the 7th prince again. Su Yingxue yawned and started to wash up leisurely. She asked Su Yuro, how did I seduce the 7th prince and how did you find out? Before dawn, the 7th prince sent someone to ask me what you have been doing recently. If you hadn't seduced the 7th prince, why would he be so obsessed with you? Su Yingxue. If Yuan Rua hadn't stopped her, Su Yuro would have pounced on Su Yingxue and torn her face off. Su Yingxue shrugged innocently. Just answer whatever he asks. Anyway, Su Yuro didn't know what she had been up to recently, and Chu Qingye couldn't get anything out of her either. It was just that he couldn't sit still. Chapter 369. In front of Long Shuli, he was too useless. Su Yuro was furious when she saw her like this. Su Yingxue, you're shameless. You hooked up with the 9th prince and even seduced the 7th prince. You. Shulan, tell her to scram, Su Yingxue said indifferently. Shulan complied and immediately gestured for the servants who were sweeping the courtyard. Escort the second young miss out. She didn't know how to fight, but the servants were all strong and sturdy. They dragged Su Yuro to the door and threw her out. Su Yuro fell on her butt and cried in pain. Su Yingxue, just you wait. I won't let you off. Shulan curved her lips and smiled at her. Second young miss, it's better to go back and recuperate before returning. Su Yuro was supported by someone. The whip wounds on her body had yet to heal, and her butt suffered another fall. She cried back to Sunset Garden. Su Yingxue took Shulan to the accountant's office to handle some matters. Shulan reported. Yesterday's expenses in the residence were normal. However, Marquis wanted to order a new batch of furniture and renovate the courtyard, costing 850 taels. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. Why did father suddenly want to repair the courtyard? Is he planning to give it to Qingxin Court? Shulan shook her head, saying with some difficulty. Marquis mentioned that Miss had previously damaged his courtyard and left it unrepaired. Now that Miss is in charge, he requested you to fund the courtyard's renovation. Su Yingxue sneered. How long had it been since she damaged his courtyard? Why was he thinking of renovating it only now? However, when Wu Jinyan came over yesterday, he had given her a substantial dividend. With the business in her hands becoming more profitable, 850 taels of silver didn't seem like much. She crossed out this record from the account and instructed Shulan. Allocate 2,000 taels of silver to father. Let him repair or expand the courtyard as he wishes. Shulan felt a pang of concern. Miss, Marquis is extorting you. Why spend 2,000 taels of silver on this? In this world, it was heard that parents spent money on their children, but a father spending such an amount on an unmarried daughter was unheard of. Su Yingxue calculated calmly, her expression icy. I'm not lacking in this money, but spending it on him is inviting disgrace upon himself. She didn't mind letting others know that the esteemed Marquis of Marshall South was still using his daughter's money after inheriting the title. As expected, when Su Yingxue sent the 2,000 taels to Su Dingheng, not only was he unhappy but his face turned ashen. She's humiliating me. Shulan's soft and delicate hand caressed his chest as she said gently, "Master, this gesture from Yingxue is her way of showing respect to you. This 2,000 taels of silver is something an ordinary family would never spend in their lifetime. Yingxue gave it to you willingly, indicating how much she respects you as her father." She appeared to praise Su Yingxue, yet she was aware of Su Dingheng's sense of inferiority. She stoked his anger, highlighting his growing inadequacy as a father in the presence of his daughter. Su Dingheng felt ashamed and grew to hate Su Yingxue even more. His eyes filled with resentment. Mother is like this, son is like this, and so is her daughter. In front of the three of them, one will be as useless as a worm. Back then, he accidentally slept with Long Shuli and felt inadequate to marry her. Long Shuli was renowned worldwide, yet he remained obscure. He was useless. Even inheriting the noble title was credited to him by the old master, because of Su Hao. Now Su Yingxue surpassed him in every aspect. He was useless as a husband, useless as a father, and would always be inferior in front of Long Shuli and her bloodline. Chapter 370. Lin Sisi, who was hiding, he hated Long Shuli. Why did she, even in death, act like a mirror, revealing his utter incompetence? Su Yingxue waited for 2 more days, yet Chu Qingye still hadn't come to see her. However, news arrived from the prison. Ziwei returned with the information. That person had recovered. His legs and bones had fully healed. Su Yingxue's face reflected incredulity. He could stand already. Ziwei's voice was hoarse. This was truly unimaginable. Su Yingxue looked astonished. The bloodline of the Great Wei Dynasty stirred her intense curiosity. She genuinely wanted to bring that man to the clinic and study him. However, Ziwei also brought unwelcome news. The people from the clinic were tortured. Who? Was it Chu Qingye's doing? Su Yingxue's heart tightened. Yes, Manager Qi, Ziwei replied. His words were concise, but Su Yingxue could sense that Manager Qi, overseeing the clinic, would always be at the forefront, no matter the situation. Naturally, he would bear the brunt of torture. But being a middle-aged man, he couldn't endure for long. She couldn't afford to sit back and do nothing. After some consideration, the only way to stop Chu Qingye from using torture was to compel him to hold a trial first. Moreover, the man from the Great Wei Dynasty had already recovered. If she ensured his presence at the court, Chu Qingye wouldn't dare unjustly kill him. Su Yingxue instructed Ziwei to go back and protect the Great Wei Dynasty man. She couldn't allow Chu Qingye to kill him. She was there to force Chu Qingye to convene a trial. Miss, the 7th prince's methods were swift and fierce. How do we save Manager Qi? Shulan asked, worried. Head to the Thousand-Jiao Pavilion. Request Sister Jinyan to disseminate the news that Chu Qingye captured and tortured the clinic staff. 111 Visit the 9th prince's bookstore to seek his assistance in spreading this information. Public rumors will compel Chu Qingye to hold a trial. Otherwise, if he lost the public's favor, he could forget about the throne. After giving her orders, Su Yingxue immediately split up with Shulan. She headed to Chu Jinling's bookstore, intending to find a manager to delegate the task. Unexpectedly, Chu Jinling was there, and upon hearing Su Yingxue's words, he immediately said, I'll handle this. But Auntie, one need your help. What help? Su Yingxue tilted her head. Chu Jinling's fair face showed concern. Sisi had been staying upstairs for a long time. She didn't want to go home or see anyone. Please go and talk to her. Su Yingxue nodded, and went to the 3rd floor. There was a door with an exquisite lock at the stairwell. She used the key given by Chu Jinling to open it. However, before entering, she heard Lin Sisi's frightened voice. You're not Jinling. Who are you? Don't come in. Her voice trembled, lacking the former confidence. Sisi, don't be afraid. It's me. Su Yingxue stepped in, feeling guilty. Dr. Su. Lin Sisi's voice held a hint of surprise. But she didn't immediately show herself. Instead, she remained behind the bookcase and said softly, Did Jinling send you to accompany me? I am fine. If you're fine, why don't you go home? Why don't you see anyone? Why are you hiding in the dark? Why don't you even see me? Su Yingxue's tone was filled with concern. When she first met Lin Sisi, She also had flaws on her face, but she was arrogant and willful. Now that her appearance was ruined and she was hiding, she looked like a little kitten who was seriously injured and only dared to lie in the dark and lick her wounds. It was unbearable. Chapter 371. Shameless Entanglement. Sisi's voice choked with emotion. I don't want to go out looking like this, scaring people, or upsetting you. You want. Yingxue wished to reassure her but wasn't sure where to begin. A woman's appearance was ultimately important. But to Sisi, Yingxue thought. Even if you hide, the 9th prince will still cherish and adore you. A glimmer appeared in Sisi's eyes as her choked voice revealed a hint of relief. Jinling is kind. He doesn't disdain me and has always been by my side. For his companionship, you should muster some courage. Do you want him to remain confined here forever, hiding in these bookshelves with you? Yingxue sighed softly. Sisi bit her lip and shook her head. I don't want that. Jinling is a prince. If I can't stay here with me forever. The other day, noble consort Xiao had sent someone. Although Chu Jinling had requested her to stay upstairs, she couldn't resist overhearing. Granny Song beside noble consort Xiao had remarked that he shouldn't keep spoiling her. If it persisted, she wouldn't allow him to marry her. Her heart trembled, but she couldn't overcome the fear within her. Since you're aware, you should be braver. Even if others view you differently or hurt you with words, your life isn't dictated by them. They can't influence your life. Yingxue tried her best to persuade her. She untied the red jade whip from her waist and handed it over. This is what you gave me before. Take it back now. While she disagreed with Sisi's previous temper tantrums, she needed a means to defend herself now. Sisi cautiously moved out of the bookcase. One hand covered her face, and the other reached for Yingxue's whip. Despite wielding this since childhood, holding it now felt incredibly foreign to her. Yingxue, how many times must I say it for you to understand? I don't like you, so even if you come 10 times a day, it's pointless. Leave. Chu Jinling's voice echoed from downstairs. Yingxue went to take a look, followed by Sisi. However, Sisi stayed in the shadows whispering, "It must be Yingxue again." She pouted, her words tinged with bitterness. She keeps pestering Jinling. Despite Jinling chasing her away every time, she comes back even more the next day. Yingxue stood at the door, arms crossed. Her audacity is something else. Upon hearing this, Sisi felt even more uncomfortable. Upstairs, the two observed as Yingxue persistently tried to engage Chu Jinling downstairs. Despite Chu Jinling's repeated attempts to send her away in public, she persisted. She even went as far as to hold Chu Jinling's arm affectionately and said, "Cousin, Yingxue misses you dearly. I made bird's nest silver silk rolls and sent you red date and wheat porridge. Taste it. If you don't like it, Yingxue will make something else for you tomorrow." She gestured for her maid to open the food box, releasing the aroma of exquisite food. Observers in the bookstore gazed with envy. The 9th prince is truly fortunate. Even with an engagement, a young miss rushes to deliver food. Absolutely. Don't forget he's a prince. The emperor's cherished one, supported by the Xiao family, even if she becomes a concubine. It's blessings from a previous life. Chapter 372. Damn-faced Chu Jinling grew exasperated with her constant pestering, and couldn't recall how many times he had pushed her away. Yingxue, I'm warning you. If you come again, I won't be polite. He waved in frustration. Get her out. Despite the bookstore staff persistently ushering people away, Yingxue stuck like glue. Her gaze remained firm. Cousin, even if you break my legs, I'll still come back. My love for you is unwavering. She wouldn't relinquish her position as the 9th prince's consort. This was a noble status and a great wealth. She would never let Sisi snatch it away, and she would not let the other daughters of the Xiao family snatch it away first. When Chu Jinling was pestering Chu Yihan to play, he felt that he was shameless enough. She didn't expect Yingxue, a woman, to be so shameless. He seriously considered breaking her legs. Sisi, if you keep hiding like this, there will come a day when the 9th prince won't be able to protect you. Your marriage might fall to the Xiao family. Are you willing? Su Yingxue cautioned Lin Sisi. Lin Sisi trembled. Will it? It will. Noble consort Xiao bowed temporarily due to the 9th prince's scratching her face and threatening her. She doesn't like you in the first place. In the long run, even if the emperor doesn't care, she will still let the 9th prince marry the daughter of the Xiao family. Xiao Rux's persistence might eventually trouble the 9th prince. She made things sound more serious. She understood Chu Jinling's stubborn nature, a trait of the Chu imperial family. He was very loyal to his feelings. In this lifetime, he would only love Lin Sisi. Yet for both to reach the end, it couldn't rely solely on one's efforts. Lin Sisi needed to step out of this shadow. Lin Sisi bit her lip, her heart tightening. The inferiority complex in her heart was still shrouding her like a shadow. Xiao Ruxia pounced on Chu Jinling again. She hugged Chu Jinling and snuggled up to him. Cousin, you're a prince. You're so outstanding, but you've been living here for a woman. Ruxia feels wronged for you. When you're tired of it, Ruxia will come to pick you up personally and serve you well. As she spoke, her smile, reminiscent of a blossoming flower, held a hint of shyness. 2 red blushes adorned her face, rendering her exquisitely beautiful. Chu Jinling inadvertently glanced at her jade-like chest and quickly blushed, moving away. You. Stay away from me. He pushed Xiao Ruxia away. His fair complexion flushed red. Su Yingxue couldn't bear to watch any longer, and wanted to intervene to help him. However, she knew that if she did, Lin Sisi would forever remain hidden above and never come down. Lin Sisi gripped the red jade whip tightly in her hand, her lips bitten until they bled. Xiao Ruxia adjusted the clothes covering her chest. When she attempted to approach Chu Jinling again, Lin Sisi couldn't contain herself any longer. She leaped downstairs and shouted furiously at Xiao Ruxia. You shameless person! Didn't you hear what Jinling said? Get out! Xiao Ruxia shrieked in fear. When she saw Lin Sisi's face clearly, she immediately revealed a mocking expression, and covered her mouth as she chuckled. One was wondering which shrew it was. So it's the disfigured Miss Lin. Your veil is crooked. The scar on your face is so ugly. Xiao Ruxia held her chest, her face full of shock. When she said that, the onlookers all focused their attention on Lin Sisi's face. Chapter 373. Oh, kidnap him. You do it. The fear in Lin Sisi's heart surged again. She instinctively turned to run. Chu Jinling embraced her. Sisi, don't be afraid. If she dares to insult you, I'll teach her a lesson. Men, she said, Sisi's face is ugly. Hold her down and slap her face until it's swollen. A trace of hostility appeared in Chu Jinling's clear eyes. He gestured, and someone pinned Xiao Ruxia to the ground. However, being from the Xiao family, before Chu Jinling's men could act, they hesitated. Your Highness, do we have to resort to violence? They were all sent by noble consort Xiao to be by Chu Jinling's side. If they laid hands on the Xiao family, they had to consider noble consort Xiao's reputation. Cousin, you detest Ruxia. Even if I were beaten to death by you, I wouldn't dare to complain. But if you hit me for Lin Sisi, I fear if Aunt finds out, she won't let her off. If the Xiao family finds out, they will not spare the Lin family. Xiao Ruxia struggled. Despite being restrained, she still dared to glare at Lin Sisi. Lin Sisi held onto Chu Jinling's clothes tightly, gritting her teeth. Noble consort Xiao, the Lin family. Was Xiao Ruxia using these to torment her? Xiao Ruxia, do you think I, Lin Sisi, have been scared since I was young? Xiao Ruxia trembled. The voice sounded as cold as hell, sending shivers down her spine. Lin Sisi turned, skillfully wielding the whip. The red jade soft whip like a spirit snake danced in her hand, leaving scars on Xiao Ruxia's face. She whipped Xiao Ruxia several times before she could even scream in pain, and her face bore the semblance of a flower. Lin Sisi's temper flared up, and her whole being exuded a stormy aura. You said I'm ugly, right? Look at yourself now. Su Yingxue brought a mirror for Xiao Ruxia. Seeing her face, Xiao Ruxia's expression contorted as she cried out dramatically. My face. My face. Su Yingxue chuckled. Miss Xiao, do you think you still have the right to compare looks with Sisi? No. I don't want to be disfigured. I don't want to look like a monster. Xiao Ruxia screamed, attempting to escape. Chu Jinling gestured. Stop her. She publicly insulted Sisi. Now everyone can see how beautiful her face is. Chu Jinling's men hesitated to hit Xiao Ruxia, but had to restrain her. People outside the bookstore were shocked by Xiao Ruxia's face. Who's that? Why so ugly? I thought she was a noble's daughter. Wait, isn't she the miss of the Xiao family who comes here often? How did she become so ugly? I'm not ugly. I'm not. Xiao Ruxia sobbed, her face a mix of blood and tears, makeup smeared, appearing ghastly. Su Yingxue smirked in satisfaction. Looking at Lin Sisi again, the fear and cowardice seemed to have vanished after the whipping incident. She smiled, walking to Su Yingxue and handing her the whip. Doctor. Su Hei's yours. Su Yingxue couldn't help but laugh. This is yours. Just take it that you lent it to me previously. Now I'll return it to its original owner. No. Lin Sisi refused decisively and stuffed the whip back into her hand. It's yours since I gave it to you. There's no reason to take it back. Besides, one won't beat anyone up again. With Jinling by my side, I feel at ease. Chapter 374. She causing a tri-division joint. Hearing Lin Sisi turned around and looked at Chu Jinling. Feeling as though her heart was being bathed in honey, she embraced Chu Jinling and said softly, Jinling, I'll give the whip to Dr. Su. Can you protect me in the future? Of course. Chu Jinling responded straightforwardly. In the future, if anyone dares to bully you, I'll be responsible for catching them, and you can deal with them. If things go wrong, we'll face it together. Yes, that's the deal. Lin Sisi agreed, and their exchange mirrored the innocence of children making a promise. Meanwhile, Su Yingxue was pleased. She tied the red jade soft whip back to her waist. Since that's settled, I won't stand on ceremony. Having already indulged in some public displays of affection, it was best to take the whip back. I've already taken care of it, Auntie. Don't worry. Chu Jinling winked at her. Su Yingxue returned home and waited calmly for a day. The next day, rumors began circulating among the people. I heard the people from Tongchang Medical Center were arrested. They were innocent. Everyone from the clinic has been thrown into prison. It was the 7th prince who arrested them, but no reason was given. One heard they even used torture. Oh my, the person in the Ministry of Justice's prison hasn't just been beaten, but is also covered in blood. How pitiful. Rumors spread faster than the wind. In less than a day, the entire Jiangdu city knew that Chu Qingye had captured and tortured people. Chu Qingye sat in the Ministry of Justice. The Assistant Minister of Justice was sweating profusely. Your Highness, these rumors are a force to be reckoned with. Now that they are getting more and more intense, can we choose a date to hold a court hearing? If this dragged on, not to mention the rumors among the people, even the emperor would have to ask about this matter. The atmosphere around Chu Qingye turned cold. Su Yingxue, she dared to use such a trick instead of coming to me? Does she think you'll yield? My lord. Report. A bailiff came to report that a large crowd had gathered at the entrance of the Ministry of Justice. They were all requesting for a trial of the Tongchang Medical Center case. If the trial was not to be held, they would be released. How dare they? Disperse them. The Assistant Minister of Justice was visibly trembling. Their Ministry of Justice's strict reputation was already not a good thing. Every time a case was tried, there would be a large number of people watching. Now that the case had been dragging on for so long without being tried, he was extremely troubled. However, this prince sitting there was extremely popular, and offending him was not an option. Chu Qingye's face turned grim. After he saw the Assistant Minister of Justice sending people out, the bailiff returned to report that more and more people were gathering at the door. They were being led by a woman who demanded an immediate court hearing, or else she threatened to go to the imperial court and beat the Dingheng drum to voice her grievances. Su Yingxue. Chu Qingye's expression changed drastically. Without seeking him, she dared to beat the Dingheng drum. Accompanied by the public, Su Yingxue pounded the Dingheng drum outside the palace, surprising the ministers of the Hall of Diligent Government. She observed from a distance that after the court session ended, The ministers began leaving the palace. When Liang Jin emerged, he was accompanied by a high-ranking official in purple attire. Liang Jin said, "Miss Su, the emperor has decreed an immediate trial, presided over jointly by the capital prefecture, the Supreme Court, the Ministry of Justice, and the 3 departments." This outcome far exceeded Su Yingxue's expectations. She had anticipated the emperor forcing Chu Yihan to hold a court session to appease public sentiment. Yet, her drumming resulted in a joint trial by the 3 departments. She suddenly missed Chu Yihan and wanted to share this news with him. But upon reaching the Ministry of Justice, she found Chu Yihan present, seated at the head of the hearing. Chapter 375. Chu Yihan's methods. He looked at her with a blaming gaze, exerting invisible pressure on her, causing her to tremble. Su Yingxue felt that she might be in a little danger after the confrontation. Chu Chengye sat in the referee's seat. Seeing Su Yingxue and Chu Yihan exchanging glances, his eyes immediately turned frosty. "Someone bring in the prisoner," he commanded coldly. After a while, everyone from the clinic was brought in and made to kneel. None of them showed any signs of injury, except for Manager Qi, who had been tortured and was covered in blood. His face was pale. Upon seeing Su Yingxue, he smiled in relief. "Miss, one knew you had the capability. She wouldn't let these people stay in prison for too long." Seeing Su Yingxue, the clinic's people lit up as if they had seen a savior, each becoming more spirited. Chu Chengye snorted. "Silence. I didn't ask for any of you to speak." "Seventh Prince, that's because you didn't ask. If you don't ask, does that mean the wronged have no right to seek justice?" Su Yingxue's tone was forceful, like a punch landing on Chu Chengye's face. Suppressing his temper, Chu Chengye's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. "Someone bring in the real felon. I'll show all of you the consequences of harboring a criminal of the imperial court." His men went to the prison and came back trembling. Seeing that he had not brought Qin Mayan, Chu Chengye snapped, "Incompetent. Where is he?" The man knelt, trembling and drenched in sweat. "Your Highness, please spare me. The prisoner is gone." What? Shock rippled through the hall. Even Su Yingxue looked surprised. How could the man from the Great Wei Dynasty have disappeared? Had Ziwei taken him away? She hadn't given that order. Puzzled, she looked up and spotted Ziwei hidden in the shadows. He shook his head at her and vanished. Frowning, Su Yingxue wondered if it was not Ziwei. Who else could it be? That man's rapid recovery from injuries suggested he had escaped the Ministry of Justice's prison. Su Yingxue's gaze remained fixed on where Ziwei had been moments before. Suddenly, a black figure appeared where Ziwei was just now. He was wearing a black robe and a black hat. His face could not be seen clearly, but he could stand steadily on the beam and not be discovered at all. Though the man was like a shadow, Su Yingxue felt the weight of his gaze on her. Suddenly feeling pressure, she looked back, finding the beam empty as though it had all been an illusion. Su Yingxue's gaze was perplexed. Was it an illusion? Why did it feel so real? Who was that person? Su Yingxue. Chu Yihan's voice brought her back. Another person had joined the hall. It was Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan took out the portrait and instructed Liang Jin to summon the deceased's family members and some witnesses to confirm that the person he brought was the court's actual wanted criminal, while the one in Chu Chengye's custody was not the wanted individual. With a weighty and oppressive gaze, Chu Yihan fixed his eyes on Chu Chengye. "Verify his identity. This person is the true felon." Implicitly, Chu Yihan accused Chu Chengye of apprehending the wrong individual and causing an injustice. Naturally, Chu Chengye refused to acknowledge it. "Imperial uncle, are you insinuating that a person you randomly apprehended is a felon of the imperial court?" Seemingly disinclined to respond to such a foolish question, Chu Yihan waved his hand, prompting Liang Jin to speak. "Seventh Prince, we have the portrait and testimonies of witnesses and the culprit. They sufficiently establish that this individual is the one you seek to apprehend." Chapter 376. Beat Chu Chengye. In other words, Chu Chengye had no choice but to admit that he had apprehended the wrong person, causing an injustice. Chu Chengye's handsome face was steeped in hostility as he forcefully pushed Liang Jin aside. "I said I didn't make a mistake, Then it isn't. This matter falls under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Justice, and is not something the imperial uncle can meddle in. Please leave the Ministry of Justice immediately, or else. What else? Chu Yihan stood up. He was also a high-ranking noble, who effectively suppressed Chu Chengye with his fierce and domineering aura. Standing at the head of the table, he coldly gazed at Chu Chengye. Father has decreed that I cannot interfere with the Ministry of Justice. However, that doesn't mean I cannot rectify an injustice. As a prince, your careless handling of the case warrants punishment. I won't admit it. Chu Chengye's face flushed crimson. I won't accept it. Your words mean nothing. Even in front of the father, I won't acknowledge it. Fine, then let's proceed to the Hall of Diligent Government. Chu Yihan ordered everyone to be taken to the Hall of Diligent Government. Seeing this, Liang Jin stepped forward to caution Chu Chengye. 7th Prince, this case falls under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Justice, and our 3 divisions can decide it. If it reaches the Hall of Diligent Government and the Emperor, you might have to bear substantial responsibility. Liang Jin's implications were clear. If Chu Chengye admitted his mistake here, it would only affect his official performance and salary. At most, he might face suspension for a month. But if the case escalated to the palace and faced all the officials, the criticism from civil officials would be harsher than it is now. Moreover, Chu Chengye's reputation among the people would be at stake. However, Chu Chengye would never admit his mistake here, or even in front of all the officials. He wouldn't accept that he lost to a woman, to Su Yingxue, or his imperial uncle. He couldn't force Su Yingxue, and Chu Yihan was pressing down on him. Men to the palace. Chu Yihan ordered, his tone cold. The Minister of Justice and the official from the Supreme Court immediately knelt before him. Your Highness, this case need not be reported to the Emperor. One subject. This case was misjudged, and the people from Tongcheng Medical Center are innocent. They should be released immediately. Released immediately? Chu Yihan's narrowed eyes held a dangerous glint. Then who will bear the suffering and punishment they endured in prison? This. Chu Yihan's pressure left them breathless, his inquiry almost stopping their hearts. The Minister of Justice thought to himself that he was the one who allowed Chu Chengye to operate in his territory. Now he would bear the responsibility for the mistake. He couldn't afford to offend Chu Yihan. He closed his eyes and gritted his teeth. I'm willing to endure punishment similar to this person. No. Su Yingxue's resounding voice cut through. The laws of our great Cheng dynasty are strict. There's no concept of one person suffering for another. Minister, it's the 7th Prince's fault. Why should you take on the punishment? 7th Prince. This can't be. The Minister of Justice trembled, his face turning pale. Your Highness holds a noble status. How can he endure punishment? This can't be. I made the mistake, so one should be the one punished. If he refused to take responsibility for the Ministry of Justice's affairs, and led to Chu Chengye suffer consequences for his actions, his life would be miserable. He didn't dare to do such a thing. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.